My name is MJ, and we are here to talk about films, talk about culture, talk about blackness, and everything that comes around with it. And welcome, folks.
Welcome.
So my name is Omega Davis, and I'm glad to be a part of the Michelle Film Club because it gives me an opportunity to share with the world my perspective and how I see life. So I'm happy to be here with you guys.
Hey, I'm Najee. I'm psyched to talk about film. It is part of my career and just a big part of my upbringing, and we're gonna have some fun.
Woo! Hey guys, this is Gabe. I also like talking about film. Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about movies.
Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Dorian. Excited. I'm a student of film. Love film. I'm excited to talk about it and get into how it affects our everyday lives through art. And speaking of which, one of my favorite things is horror. I'm a big horror buff. I love scary movies, watching people get slashed up. I should probably get some medication for that. But
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, after the show, I'm gonna go to therapy after the show. But for right now,
I like it too. I think a lot of people like seeing people die.
Yeah. Everybody likes it.
Seeing people die on film.
I think everybody likes a good scare every now and then. But this episode is definitely one that's near and dear to my heart. So we're going to talk about a documentary called Horror Noir. We're also going to talk about how black film, or black representation in horror is kind of lacking, and get everybody's take on what they feel about horror in general, and go from there. Let's get it started. MJ, what is your the movie that scared the shit out of you?
Yo, it started in 3rd grade. And I didn't even see the movie. It was a commercial. Blair Witch Project.
Word?
Classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then until I finally watched it in adulthood, I was just like, I was really scared. But I was just like, yeah, the commercial was just perfect.
Right.
It seems so real.
What was she like with the snot coming out of her nose? She was like,
Yeah. I had the same snot too, yo. I was just like, what?
Yeah. I would just hope that because you was in the 3rd grade, not because you was just snotty nose and whatever.
Nah, both. But yeah.
I kind of figured that. It's okay.
It's the whole mockumentary style thing. Once it seems very real, it is very scary.
Yeah,
That's true.
To me.
How about you, Omega?
So probably I was in high school and I watched this movie called the Fourth Kind, and man, that movie, like it's a movie, but like there's the intro. She starts out and she's like, "What you're about to see, you may not believe," and it's like, all right, like whatever. And she's about to talk about aliens, but like and then she shows you like the video footage, and then they show you like what they shot and recreated it. That is the scariest shit I've ever seen.
Stop me, I've never seen that.
Yeah, you should check it out.
And how old is it? Like 90s? What?
No, it's like early 2000s. So yeah.
Alright, Najee?
The first scary movie that I remember enjoying but also being scared of is The Ring. Controversial, I know, but it was. I just loved the actual story of it. For years after, I would go into the pool and flip my hair over and do that weird walk and be like, "I'm Samara," and freak everybody out. Because they had story. My 9-year-old self thought the acting was amazing, and I was just genuinely scared. And I bought in. I believed it. I was horrified, and yeah.
All right.
To this day.
You coming to therapy with me too afterwards? Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, I was really I was too scared to watch scary movies growing up. Yeah, I was. You can say that. But look, like everybody else, like me and my cousins, we were be having sleepovers. we'd be having sleepovers or whatever, and everybody watched movies, and I just wouldn't do it. I would just go somewhere else and chill.
You were the only one that slapped so good.
Yeah.
So penises drawn on his face first.
But it was it. It was the one that was kind of the one that kind of was talked about mostly among me and my peers at the time. And of course I didn't watch it, but I heard a lot about it, and I saw like images of it, and it was that enough for me was pretty traumatic, so I kind of just went along with that for most of my years, and it wasn't up until a few years ago I was like, all right, I'll watch kind of anything now. And now that we have like it being redone, it's kind of like, it was never really that scary to begin with. Like if you kind of,
I disagree.
You don't think so?
No, because I was gonna say it is mine. It's like it scared the hell out of me. I saw it, the original, because I'm that old. Don't you be doing no math at home. But I remember like he said they all float down here. I was like, nah, I don't float. No, I'm not going in the sewer. Like, stop. I'm calling the police. Stop. Fuck away from me, clown. No. So that's the one that really, Stephen King in general is like a master of horror. Definitely. Who else? Wes Craven, Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Clive Barker was a big one. He did, don't quote me on this. I think Puppet Master, or was it Needle, the pen guy? Hellraiser.
I don't know.
I think he did Hellraiser.
Pinhead or something
yeah.
like that.
Hellraiser is what the
Oh,
series
okay.
was called. There was a lot of good ones, like classics, cult classics, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's like.
That's a good one.
What about what's it called? Hocus Pocus? No, that was like
I love Hocus
that was
Pocus.
that was Jeepers Creepers. Jeepers Creepers. That's what else.
Yeah.
I get scared of Hocus Pocus.
Jeepers Creepers.
Sarah Jessica Parker was horrifying in that film.
Hocus Pocus was
I
it.
respect it.
Hocus Pocus was the first scary movie that I was like, all right, scary movies are
What was
my
the one
thing.
with Disney with the
The three.
Halloween Town?
Halloween Town.
We
Okay.
could really talk about it.
Casper around here? Yo, I was hella scared of Casper.
Casper was also a horrifying film.
Messing with y'all.
I was scared.
I was scared.
Listen.
I was scared. I'm still scared to this day of some of that kind of stuff.
If anything of Casper I was scared of was his origin story. He got hit by a car.
What?
Yo, I heard it was Richie Rich, right? Like he was listening to Rich was kind
That was a
of.
fan theory.
Okay, it makes sense. They look alike. They look just alike.
Man, I love it.
I'm still afraid of Cruella de Vil.
I admire her. I feel like she's kind of like
I wanted to slap her.
she's like a hero,
That was a horror film, stealing dogs and just her face.
That was
scary.
kind of disturbing when you think about it.
Subjective.
But no, I'm actually glad you said that because horror is kind of subjective. Like, and one of the things there's a documentary called Horror Noir on a website called Shudder.com, and they talked about how horror for us as Black people is way different. And it was a long time when there wasn't even representation of us. But it started with like Birth of a Nation, where they were painting us to be the monsters, the Ku Klux Klan. So like, what do you guys think about?
It's just an irony. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess like for white folks, right? It's like, yeah, they're looking at us as the evil ones, but like, we know who the evil ones are, especially of like that time period. You know, something. I don't know. There's something about it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the narrative. Since the dawn of this country's beginning, it's kind of always been like, all right, Black is bad, and that's kind of been the narrative throughout the whole West, and it you kind of see that played out in that film, and you kind of see like from that moment to like now how that's kind of transpired and grown and evolved and turned into a lot of different things. It's funny because like there's a show out now called The Watchmen, where that's like a crucial plot point
That show
of
is fire.
Birth of a Nation. I have a lot of interesting ideas and feelings about that show, but I guess that's not really.
That's another podcast.
That's another podcast. So if you guys want to hear about that, just stay tuned in. But yeah, it's kind of funny how like now, like with the state of the country today, it's kind of like Birth of a Nation is being brought back up in 2019, and like what they said then is kind of still relevant now.
In the history of America itself is a horror story.
Exactly, and that's kind of why I'm not really like scary movies don't really scare me, because I'm kind of one of those people. It's like the reality is scarier than anything you can put into a horror film. Like I would say documentaries are like much scarier than like movies personally.
True. But that's the whole point of good horror. Like a good horror film is supposed to make you fear your own surroundings. Like you're supposed to leave the theater thinking or fearful that that thing that happened that you just watched on screen can happen to you.
Scared to go around the corner.
Right.
Right.
Scared to
Behind
sleep.
you.
Like, yeah. That's what it's supposed to do. So, but for us, our reality, like you said, is a lot scarier.
Yeah. I mean, even watching a regular movie where a cop stops a black character that's driving in itself is you're like, oh man, what's gonna happen?
Your blood pressure goes up. It's kind of like, damn, how's this gonna play out? Yep.
And so, like, the cops come, like, oh shit, throw your popcorn up. It's supposed to be rated PG-13. What the hell is this? So, what did you guys like most about the doc, though?
I would say like just the history of it, like just like I guess like the what I mean by it is just like the origins of horror movies, like how like I feel like it's like made accidentally in a sense.
Like without self-awareness.
Yeah, like cause when you allow like I guess like white people to narrate the birth of a nation, right? Like to them that made this propaganda film, it was for a reason.
Right.
But at the same time, I feel like it's because like I guess racism is so embedded in their culture that it's almost done by accident. Like it's like it was gonna happen. I don't know if it makes sense.
Like, I think I know what you're saying. Like, there was one part in the doc where they talked about during, I think it was the 20s or 30s, during the Depression, horror films started to be things like Dracula and Frankenstein, like monsters, and we just kind of weren't there, or we played caricatures, like Sambo's, Coon. So yeah, I think so anything, because that's just what they knew of us at the time.
Yeah.
But then as it evolved, like even there was that whole trope about in the 90s, and even early 2000s with horror movies, like, oh, we know the black person gonna die in the beginning. Like, why are we even watching like the token black or the what they call it? I think the magical Negro.
Yeah.
Like when Molly says that gift that everybody likes, like, you a danger girl. When she says that was actually just a caricature. That's like she's saving the white people, the protagonist. She's there to aid them, and she doesn't have a storyline or feelings or needs of her own as a character. She's just there simply to help. The right protagonist. So yeah, I get what you're saying.
There was a tidbit in the film, I don't remember who said it, someone really smart, but that in the 50s, black people kind of disappeared from film for a little while because it was an era of horror that was big into labs and scientists and all that, and black people weren't included in that culture, so they disappeared from black film, and I'd never thought about that before, and I thought that was really, really interesting.
Right.
It wasn't convenient for them to be there anymore, for black people to be like, oh, that's unrealistic that there'd be anybody black or of color in a lab setting. So as soon as horror turned toward that, there was no need for black people, and they completely just vanished from horror.
Right. Which is funny, that's actually what our Oscar Michaud, the guy who named this group after, he was seeing like Birth of the Nation in response of all those images, and he was like the first Tyler Perry. He decided to start making films of our own. So like the horror movies in the 50s that we made, we actually were scientists and doctors, and I think there were only a few. I don't remember the names. But definitely check out Shudder.com. Shout out to Shudder. You need money?
And that is Shudder with 2 D's. Yes, not T's. D as in dog.
SHUDDER.com. Send that check. So look.
I got a free week trial.
Right. But that said, like, where do you guys want to see horror go in the future? Like, do you think? Well, all right, let's talk about Jordan Peele, because there's definitely been more representation since Jordan Peele came on with Get Out. What do you guys think of his impact on the genre? Do you think he sparked like a revolution, or?
What I personally really enjoy about his movies is that there is great story and symbolism, and that the writing is well thought out. It's not about cheap thrills. It's about like layers of story and meaning, and there's such great story crafting, and a lot of times that's what I feel like horror is missing. It's just very like just cheap, shitty ass writing a lot of times in horror, and people love that. And like we all go to watch terrible movies sometimes because what's gonna happen, and it feels good to be secure and just kind of go along with hitting all the marks. But when an entire genre is doing that, that's pretty whack. And so I love that Peele is really upping the horror writing and making it mean something, and I hope that other people take note and do the same, because it just makes it so much more scary, more interesting, and just profound. Like horror can be profound if it's written well
done right. He had to fight. Well, he changed the ending, and I think he had to fight. I think surprisingly they gave him a lot of creative control, and he was in the documentary, he talked about that. But about the ending, he had a different ending originally.
I seen the alternate ending. Yeah. Where it's like he actually does get caught, and it's actually a cop. But then he was just like, I remember him mentioning even in the article I read, where he was saying that he just wanted to change the ending because it was like we always have a bad ending, So
in real life.
In real life, exactly. And it's just like, all right, this character deserves a good ending.
And we all felt victorious with the character, right?
Yeah. Because when he got out there, I was like, damn, I saw the lights. I think everybody had the same reaction in the theater, like, damn, he got caught.
Yeah, we were all yelling.
Right. When Lil Rel came out, he was like, oh, my nigga.
I've been so happy to see TSA in my life.
Right. Exactly. Omega, you kind of quiet. What's up?
No, I'm just, yeah. I mean, in the documentary, it was just like I really did enjoy just like watching us develop as an art form, and seeing it from the beginning and it just develop. And so I think where we are now, I think we're at such a great places because we have those stepping stones and places of like we're not doing this blind, So, but people like Jordan Peele like are opening up avenues for us to. And also showing us the ways in which we can express ourselves with our
like giving us the blueprint for it.
Right, like this is what this looks like, and I think it's special because like we struggle so much with seeing ourselves in a different light that the only way that we can move on and show ourselves in a different light is that we look at what we're experiencing now and tackle that. And I feel like Get Out is a great example of a movie that's doing that. Also like others that aren't particularly like horror films, but they're still doing it as well.
Like what?
I mean, I don't want to talk about too much, but Queen and Slim, like.
Oh, we're gonna get to that.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't want to talk about too much. Yeah,
just
but
I
mean, I can't really think of another movie right now, but.
Technically, Queen and Slim is kind of a psychological thriller. It's
exactly.
Like
yes.
Our American horror.
And and I mean, I really want to talk about this in like a thriller aspect because, I've had similar experiences to where my paranoia of my mind of like the feeling of over my shoulder at any moment there's a police officer who's gonna grab me from behind and like handcuff me. Like that fear is so real, and I felt that on the screen so heavy. And it was something that like that is, you asked me like if I had a black film to show me, that is probably like a living fear of mine, and like I mean as other black men, but so
I think also last thing I'll say about Queen and Slim, because we're gonna get to that, but in context of horror, like I was really scared about the lack of unity that we have. That kind of scares me as well. Like the ending. I don't want to give out the ending. Spoilers. But
we're talking about Get Out still?
And why it ended.
Oh, Queen and Slim.
But there's multiple examples of like the lack of unity in that film. So
yeah,
in Queen and Slim?
Yeah. The lack of our unity is kind of a scary thing, because how do we change and get together and have more collectives to make films that powerful if we can't trust each other? That's a scary thought in a sense. But, I That's it. That's summing up. But there was a quote from Rusty Cundiff. He directed Tales from the Hood, one of my favorite horror movies. He says that dead people and spirits can't hurt you, and it's the living you have to watch out for.
It's a fact.
Yeah, that's a fact. So I think in the context of horror, or black horror, that's the big thing. So, any last thoughts? Anything?
I got a question. I was gonna ask, like, other things that you guys find horror in, like, today, whether it be TV or film, like anything that came out recently, maybe this year or last year, that you guys think is like really terrifying, and like
Black Mirror scares the shit out of me. I love it. I enjoy it. That is the type of horror that I enjoy the most.
Striking Vipers.
Well, it's real, or it could be real, but also the writing is so good and it's so well thought out, and I love horror hidden in reality or potential reality or something that you can really apply to your own life. You could see it happening. So Black Mirror is my favorite horror.
No. Yeah, like.
Sorry to cut you off, but they're actually going to do that. There's, the episode with the social ratings?
Yeah,
They're actually going to do that.
Episode 1.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I want to say China.
That's so crazy.
Social currency.
I mean, we already have it.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, we have it with ratings, right?
We have likes.
But no, they're
are
actually
social.
doing it like they did in Black Mirror, like to get cabs and to get Ubers and stuff. You have to have a good social. That's crazy.
It's just.
But China's also
more inexplicit. It's more explicit, while ours is more inexplicit. I would say, like, we try to cover it up with, like, people, like people thinking that like it's just like masses of people liking something, when in reality it's kind of this whole social currency aspect that we see a lot on throughout many different social networks. But back to the point about Black Mirror, my favorite episode, the entire review, is something that stuck with me to this day. And I kind of see it as something that's transpiring. It's called The Entire History of You. I think it's either on the first or second season. It's a very weird show because it'll have like 3 episode seasons and like 6 episode seasons.
What's the brief plot of that one?
Okay. Yeah, so they have like there's like a chip that the people can put in their heads, and that kind of records their whole.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That one is.
Rewind.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
My God.
So it's like.
He caught his wife cheating, but he didn't notice it.
Yep.
That kills me.
Yeah.
That one was tough.
I think when we consider where we're at now and we're at in the future, like the things that we record are never going to go away, and they're always going to be something we can refer back to, and it's kind of scary to think about how that's going to transpire with like the psychological effects and things like that. So, but yeah, Black Mirror is a really good show.
Recent stuff.
I haven't been watching any recent horrors. I've always just been.
What?
I just haven't been watching any recent horrors. Like most of the horrors I've watched, it's mostly just 90s stuff, early 2000s. Like Identity with John Cusack. Never seen that, like where there's multiple personality syndrome or whatever. So it's like one of his personalities is trying to like kill every other personality it is. They're all stuck in a motel.
So it's the whole movie he's trying to kill himself, basically. Kind of, sort of.
I don't want to ruin the end.
All right.
Spoiler alert.
But I mean, the movie did come out like 2002, so.
Yeah.
So
I think we should say a disclaimer. Look here, y'all gonna keep listening. Look,
we're gonna tell you the ending of every movie.
Yeah, just be ready.
If it's recent, we're not gonna give the spoiler.
Yeah.
We'll give you the
We'll tell you a spoiler alert.
But if it's at least like 10 years old,
you can go to Blockbuster. Well, damn, there's no Blockbuster.
So,
I was gonna say
IMDb.
Somebody stuck in the 90s.
Buy some Fun Dip and a VHS.
Have a great Friday night.
Did you get penalties?
Yeah, it used to be.
Yo, penalties used to be just as worse as the public library.
What are penalties?
What's a library? Those don't exist
anymore.
anymore.
Wow. So we've gone
We
there,
all got
folks.
old.
We've gone there, folks.
Oh, okay. I see.
Just
crazy.
picture if Google was a place. Well, I have one thing that does scare me recently. There's this orange, tan, like crazy person
Donald Trump?
living in 1400 Pennsylvania, and he has really small hands. It's like oh god, scares the shit out of me every
He
time I see
reminds me
him.
of like Ronald McDonald if he was a serial killer.
That's why he was serving burgers and dude, that just pissed. Can I tell you what grinds my gears? I'm sorry, this is so off topic, but look, why are you giving a championship basketball team burgers and French fries and pizza at the White House, bro? I could have went up the campus block and got that. Like, I'm coming for steak, lobster. What are you doing?
I thought that was kind of hilarious. Like, I think I'm not gonna lie, guys. I think Donald Trump is a funny dude. Like, I think the shit he does is kind of hilarious. No, I think he's kind of trolling. Like, I think like there's a lot of. I mean, this is a whole different conversation.
And let's not even go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah. But
he's
scared, yeah.
he makes me laugh. I'm sorry, but I hate him. I don't think he should like be where he is. But like,
He's funny, scary.
he's funny, scary.
For sure.
He's
I'm with you. He's
scary,
funny,
yeah.
scary.
We should have some
Especially when I'm watching a Daily Show.
Oh,
Funny, scary.
It's like, yeah, it's just like, yo, this is really happening. Like,
yeah, it is.
Cause I laugh and then I stop laughing. I'm like, yo, this is real.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's like a common, you know, like a feeling for a lot of us.
So, yeah, I think that's it. Thank you guys for joining us. Definitely reach out to us. We're on IG and Twitter.
IG, Michelle Film Club. We're on Twitter, Michelle FC. You can also catch us on Patreon and on
You got SoundCloud, YouTube.
SoundCloud, all that. You know, even datpiff.com. You can catch us on everything. You know,
I won't be up there.
but you know, if you want to spread some change a little bit, you know, scratch my neck real quick. Like,
Yeah, no, donate to us on PayPal. You know, like you know.
We're trying to expand. We're also trying to gather around a whole bunch of filmmakers, people that love films, so we could just set up events, so we could just all connect and you know, do what we do. You know, tell great stories.
But that takes money, so you know, just give us a little pocket change if you could.
Join our club. Join the Michelle Film Club on Patreon. You know, we give you, you know, features to things that, you know, regular people don't have access to. You'll be first in line for events, or, you know, like once you come out with, you know, accessories, t-shirts, gear, you'll be able to have that too. And you know, you'll be in the know. You'll be in the know when it comes to film, and you'll be able to contribute to the conversation. And we'll all be a big happy family.
And Michelle is spelled Micheaux.
Yes.
I mean, you'll know that because it'll also be on the title of this video.
Which you followed and that. No, but like, it took me a minute. It took me a minute to understand.
English is hard. English is real hard.
People can't read these days. I got you covered. If you can't see anything, that's how you spell it. Thank you for listening, guys.
Thank you. Peace.
We got you.
Peace. All right.